Aloha! And we're back playing some Magic 2013. My name is multeyemeteor. Today we are going to take a look at the Sepulchral Strength deck, which is the black-green, let me see, Golgari guild deck. I had a bit of trouble trying to trim it down to 60, which is a good thing, I guess, because that means that you have a lot of things that you... A lot of good options in this deck, and I'm sure that people are running this in very different ways. But yeah, like with the Izzet or Mindstorms deck, this is not going to be a deck building guide because I don't feel I have enough to offer, and I haven't tested out this deck enough to actually give a lot of sound advice based on experience. But just in theory, I can tell you how I've built my deck and from what sort of ideas that I've put this deck together. So again, Evolving Wild is not welcome in any of my deck, and this will probably mana screw you. But you have a lot of ramp, and it's absolutely your responsibility not to avoid mulliganing down to at least 2 lands and hopefully 3 or 4 in your opening hand. So Evolving Wilds, I'm not a fan. Get out, get out, get out. Rancor is a great card, but I didn't feel I had enough room for more than one, and this surprised even me. So yeah, just one. I run one of them. Spore Frog was pretty unspectacular. When you're in a situation where you actually count on this creature to do much good to you, you're probably losing anyway. So no, didn't want to include it in the deck. Abyssal Gatekeeper, I took both of them out. It's pretty interesting, and I really liked it in the beginning, but it ended up being, it ended up also screwing me like at least a third of the time because this deck is heavy on the removal. And a lot of the times, you don't have that extra creature that you want to sacrifice for them to be able to, or for you to actually get any benefits out of the Abyssal Gatekeeper. So a lot of the times, they will find removal against the Abyssal Gatekeeper, and you have to sack another creature. And I'm not a fan of that. Not a fan of that. Dark Heart of the Wood is actually pretty good for a life gain card. It works pretty well with this deck, but yeah, I wanted to put my emphasis on creatures and the whole sacrifice mechanic and so on, and not so much on the life gain mechanic. So yeah, Dark Heart of the Wood. Again, I think if you focus too much on life gaining, it's probably because your build is not fit for battling top tier decks. So yeah, it's out. Go for the Throat. Took 2 of them out. You get 4, and there's so much removal. It's plainly a matter of having too many creatures in this deck, and not having a lot of not a lot of things that you want to take out of the deck instead of the Go for the Throat. So I only brought 2 of them. Ravenous Rats. I was convinced that I was going to run these because I love discard decks, and I really love to take cards out of my opponent's hands. But as you'll see, I run almost 60% of creatures. I have enough creatures. The 1/1 is not really helpful. It's decent for sacking, but there are so many other options as well. So yeah, I didn't feel that it was good enough. Bloodflow Connoisseur is pretty decent on paper, but I think she's a little expensive. And the whole bit about sacrificing a creature to put a +1/+1 counter on her. If she was a 2/2, it would be better, but she's very easily removed. You have to sack like a string of creatures for it to be compatible or in any chance being able to offer any resistance or power on the board against tougher creatures. So no, I thought she was a bit slow, and The only reason that you might want to put it in if you focus more on sacrificing your own creatures than I do, and you focus more on having tokens and the whole sacrifice mechanic, want to go into the whole synergy of that. But I felt that this was not the way it didn't fit my temperament that much. So Bloodflow Connoisseur is out. Troll Ascetic, I took one out. I think there's still two or three, maybe only two in the build. It's a great card, no doubt about it. But I felt again I didn't have room for three of them, or even four. I think it's three of them altogether. It's a great card. Hexproof will really help you out against a lot of situations where your opponent is running removal heavy or direct burn spells, both the mono reds and yeah, even Pack Instinct that has a Prey Upon. So yeah, I didn't want to take too many of them out because it also has regenerate. But yeah, I didn't want to clutter up my deck with too many of the Troll Ascetics. But because it's still it is a 3/2 and it doesn't contribute all that much to the main mechanic of the deck. So yep, one out. This is an interesting card, Yavimaya Dryad, because it gives you a forest right away, and it has Forest Walk. It's a 2/1, but it usually ends up being a chump blocker unless you're playing green. So I thought it's a decent card, but I don't have enough room for it in my deck either. Yavimaya Elder, I think I run three of them because it's just that bit. It's just better because you don't have to choose a forest. Of course, it doesn't come into play right away, but this is a serious ramp for your deck. That very necessary ramp for the dual colored decks that you need, and it gives you two basic lands. Albeit they come to your hand instead of on the battlefield, but still, it's a great card. It's a 2/1, and it gives you the option of sacrificing it yourself, which is great because it draws you a card, but it also makes it makes it so that you are in control of when you want those two extra land cards in your hand. So it's a great card. Run three of them out of the four optional, and the artwork is just phenomenal in my opinion. Really like it. Damnation is a great card because it destroys all creatures and they can't be regenerated. But I would run this more often, or I would definitely consider running it if I was more focused on sacking my own creatures. But I have too many creatures that I would like to stay on board. So a lot of the time, because I run so many other removal spells, this card will actually be a little bit superfluous in the sense that I've already taken away a lot of their creatures. And in my experience, if I actually need this card, it means that they are actually winning already. They've already battered me down with too many creatures on board. So it does deal with the hexproof creatures, but you have some other sacrifice mechanics to do that as well, and that doesn't wipe your side of the board as well. So I thought it was probably a failsafe that I could do without, and I would rather have some of the other cards that as an option instead of this card. So. But I can I cannot fault anyone for wanting to run this, and everyone will probably run the deck in a slightly different manner from everyone else. So it might work in a different build. I don't think it works all that well in mine. Defense of the Heart is pretty. I think it's pretty useless. At the time that you have 4 mana, you probably don't need. Wait a second. I misunderstood this damn card. I don't think it's that good anyway. I thought it was, for some reason, I thought it was lands that you were going to get. It's actually not bad. And then again, it's actually not that good. Um, because it will probably, I don't know, maybe, man, I'm in doubt. I've totally misread this card. I didn't like it when I saw it because I read it quickly and read it all wrong. I don't know. I can definitely see you running it, and I might end up putting it back in the deck. Right now, I feel like it's an entirely new card to me. It's a bit of a fail. I'm sorry for that, but yeah, I might run it. Not sure. I think it's a little slow though. Also because I run a lot of removal. See, that might be my pitiful excuse for not running it, because I try to keep my opponent low on creatures anyway. So yeah, I might not even want to get stuck with this creature in hand, or on the table for that matter. It's a bit of a failsafe as well, now that I think about it. I don't know. Let me know what you think. If any of you guys have a good reason for running it. Greater good, it's a bit of the same. I don't want to sack a creature that's big enough for me to actually to warrant discarding 3 cards. I can definitely see late game where you have 1 or 2 cards in hand. You draw cards and then you get to choose from those cards and whatever you have in hand. But don't want to sack my creatures. I don't have any big creatures that I feel are very sackable, and that's probably one of the things that I feel they left out of this deck. They didn't give you a good reason to sack your bigger creatures. The abilities of your big creatures don't have that. Um, are not very sackable in that sense. Of course, if they're in combat and you're losing that creature anyway, but usually when I'm in when I use my creatures as something different from a chump blocker, I want them to give damage to my opponent's creatures. I don't want my creatures to not deal damage and just be a chump blocker in that sense. And I could definitely see how this card will help you out if you have big creatures down and your opponent is running a lot of removal. But then again, you have to discard 3 cards. I really don't like that part. Like if you had to discard 1 or 2 cards, I could see this being very valuable. But I don't see how it ramps you all that much, or how it speeds up your deck all that much, because you have to discard those 3 cards and. At the end of the day, I think it doesn't help for the greater good, so to speak. So yep, both of them out. Master of the Wild Hunt is a pretty good card, but I think it's a bit too slow. In my experience, you have to wait turn after turn after turn to gather enough wolf. You can't attack with those wolf if you want to use them to do this prey upon like effect. Or Ulvenwald tracker kind of effect that Master of the Wild Hunt has. Of course, it's great that it makes tokens, and it's great it gives you some instant removal, but yeah, I think it's a little bit slow. It's a little bit slow for me to run it, but it's not a bad card by any stretch. There's 2 of them, so no. This might cost me a little bit of hate, or this might cause a little bit of emotions to arise. So in any of you viewers, because Mortivore is a darling. It's a dear. It's a card that's dear to our hearts, especially if. I don't know, probably in Paper Magic. I haven't played Paper Magic for, I think, more than 10 years now, and I know it was a very, very solid card in the Liliara deck last year in 2012, Magic 2012. But I think there are better alternatives in this deck, and because there are so many token decks, like you run a lot of tokens in it, with this token generating effects with this deck, you're not going to get any not gonna get anything out of the tokens because they don't go to the graveyard. And there are the token deck, the Celestia deck, Collective Might. I think there are a few other decks that run tokens. I don't think Mortivore is as strong as we would like him to be, unless you're gunning for the late game. Perhaps if you're playing against Dream Puppets, it's immensely strong. Perhaps. Not sure. But yeah, I wouldn't fault anybody for keeping one or maybe even both of them in, but I think I have better options. But then again, I might change. That might change with when I get a little bit more experience playing this deck. Oracle of Mul Daya, I took out one. Kind of like it. It's kind of like that. I think it's called Future Sight in the Crosswinds deck, where except that you can't play all the cards, you can only play one additional land, and you can play it from the top of your the real revealed card on top of your library. It's a pretty decent card, or a pretty decent creature, but I use it as a ramp, but I might take it out because aside from that effect, it does little to help your deck. So you could put in a Mortivore instead if you want a little bit more power and toughness on the board. But this card will help you ramp a little bit. Bellowing Tangleworm is pretty great. Didn't feel I had room for it. Again, I have so much removal that that I rarely need the Intimidate ability, and it only works against when you're playing blue, white, or red. It doesn't work that well against black or green, so I wouldn't stake my life on it. And with the new dual-colored decks, you have even more decks that combine with green and black. So yeah, it's not that it's a bad card anyway. I think it's a great card, but it didn't feel right for me to take in one of those when there were other creatures that had better synergetic effects or just worked in a better way with my deck. Drana is also a controversial card to take out of the deck. I like it a lot. The only thing is that I don't feel I have enough mana to really be agile with her ability, and it takes a long time. So on, I would rather run a more flexible creature and a bunch of removal. But it's certainly a great card. Absolutely a great card. It's difficult to fault anyone for running it, but I think it's a bit too slow for, like, this deck is already slow enough and it's very controlly, and if you want to run Drana, yeah, sure, you can attack every turn while you're using this ability, but you're going to tie up a lot of your mana while you're using this ability. Methodic Slime, I considered running it also because it's really great with the sacrifice mechanic, but again, like I said before, it's not. I don't focus too much on the on sacrificing my own creatures. I try to avoid that, and that might, I don't know. I mean, it might be my demise in the end because it might be the strength of this deck that you don't invest too much emotion and too much. You don't rely too much on your creatures because you know that you're going to cycle them, or not cycle them. You're going to be able to sack them and get new creatures, or sack them and get some effect that's useful for you. But I don't know. I thought it's a decent card. I just felt I didn't have a lot of room in it. And you're going to hear me say that a lot. You already heard me say it too many times. Like, it's a great card, but there's no room for it. And there really isn't, because there's so many good cards. But at the end of the day, you have to trim it down to 60, make it efficient, make it strong, make it fast. As fast as it can be. It does have a few one-cost spells, but contrary to the Mindstorms deck that I made a video of last week. But yeah, Cabal Patriarch. It's pretty interesting. It's a 6 cost 5/5 with abilities to actually do or to remove creatures that are in the 2 toughness range. Again, maybe if I had a lot of creatures that I felt like sacrificing, then this would be great. But it also ties up your mana quite a bit, and I felt while doing a bit of testing and unlocking the cards that I needed my lands or my mana pretty much every turn. So I think this slows you down. I think it kind of takes the speed out of your deck a little too much. So no, thank you. Drooling Grudian, I thought it's pretty good, but I ended up taking out both of them. Again, I thought it's a pretty good card. It's a bit small for a 6-drop, but it has a nice effect. But that effect is also pretty expensive. I would rather use the instant spell that does the same for 3 mana. Yeah. So and not only that, it costs 4 to use its ability, but you also sack a creature of your own. I don't feel I have enough. I don't feel that in my experience I end up having enough tokens to actually use those self-sacrificing abilities too much. So no, nope. Glean Crawler is pretty interesting. I think it could work well in conjunction with some of the creature sacking functions and abilities in the deck, but I thought it was a bit big. I might, if I end up building my deck more around the creature sacrificing mechanic, I'll definitely consider running this card because it'll give you back all your creatures in your end step, and that's pretty interesting. That it makes it so that it doesn't feel that like that much of a sacrifice to sacrifice your creatures. So yeah, Pelaka Worm, way too expensive. Way too expensive for a dual colored deck, especially, but it's really expensive. I want a lot of other things going for me at the time that I have 7 mana on the table. I want to be close to winning, or I want to control my opponent heavily. So I think, yeah, not too impressed with it. It's big, that's about it. It has trample though. The life gain is neat, but whatever. It's not that good. Penumbra Worm. Much the same. It's too expensive. It's not as big as Pelaka Worm. Its secondary ability is decent, but no, didn't feel like it. Death Mutation's way too expensive. Way too expensive. And you can only justify using it on a creature that is so big that you get a lot of tokens out of it, or else it makes no sense to run this creature or this card. In Magic 2012, there was the Ancient Depth deck with that had either mutation, which bounced a creature back to its controller's hand and gave you as many tokens, Saprolin tokens, 1/1 creatures, as I think it was the casting cost, pretty much similar to this one, but it only costed 5, which was fairly expensive, but you could do it, I think you could do it at instant speed. This is a sorcery, it cost 8, and it's, you can't even target black creatures. So no thank you. You can't even target your own black creatures if you want to, if you want to do something, if you want to do tricks with your own creatures. So it doesn't work well with the sacrifice mechanic, and it's really a bad card in a sense. So yeah, those are the cards that I don't run. And here are the cards that I run. Rancor, I run that. I only run one again because of the limitations on space in this deck, but I run one because there will be times where you have big creatures, but they have jump blockers, and trample will make a huge difference there. And it also bounces back to your hand, so it's definitely worthwhile. And even if you put it on a creature in the beginning of the match, it gives you 2 extra in the front that'll smash a little harder to your opponent's face. So it's a great card because it bounces back to your hand. That is basically why you want to run it. Scute Mob is a creature that I might take out with time, but I like it because it's cheap. Even if you, especially I would say, if you draw it mid to late game, um, if you have that extra mana, you can drop like a 4 drop, a 5 drop, and if you have that extra mana, you drop one Scute Mob, and then the next turn, +4/+4. Oh no, sorry, +4/+4. It's a 5/5, and next turn again, it's a 9/9, etc., etc., etc. So it's actually a great card. It reminds me a lot of the Jace's Phantasm. So this is the reason that I run both of them, but this might not be permanent. Blood Artist is probably, it might be the star of the show or of this deck. It will kill your opponent so fast. There's so many mechanics where, especially like the Pernicious Deed, where you can sack your opponent's side, you can sack your own side, and so on. And for every creature on the board, including the Blood Artist, that gets sacked, your opponent pays with 1 life, you gain 1 life. It's fucking amazing. It is probably the best card in the deck. It's really, really good. I think they released it with the Avacyn Restored expansion a couple of months ago, 3 months ago, perhaps. I don't know. But it's a really, really great card, and you definitely want to be running this card. Even though the artwork doesn't really fit in with the theme of the deck. Doesn't matter, it's great. Fits with the Golgari philosophy. Diabolic Edict is great, especially because it sometimes take care of those hexproof creatures or some of those regenerating creatures. So play it smartly and it works for you really, really well. It's also instant speed, which is awesome. So in conjunction with the Go for the Throat, which I run 2 of, it's really good. Viridian Emissary. Well, it's basically just a ramp card. It gives you either a swamp or a forest, which you put directly into battlefield onto the battlefield when it dies. So it's a 2/1 until it dies, and that means it's an attacker or a jump blocker and or a creature you can sacrifice, and it just works very, very flexible in that sense. Very good card. That'll help you out and make it so that you might not be mana screwed for long, or so that you are ramped early on. I run both of them. If there were more, I would probably run more. It's really good. Consume Strength is the card I was talking about, instead of what's his name, the big or the 4/3 for 6 that I didn't bring. This card has that same effect. It costs 3 to cast. It's instant speed, and it's very, very tricksy. It'll make it so that your chump blocker becomes a beast and makes your opponent a chump attacker, so to speak. It will kill a creature on their side, even if you don't have a creature to pump. You just pump his other creature on your turn when it's not in combat and when it doesn't affect anything, and then kill off his 2/2 or 1/2 or 1/1 or whatever. Really good, strong card. Golgari Germination is pretty great, especially if you don't run too many token creatures. This card will help you out with. It will help you out in the mid to towards the mid to long game, because it makes it so that every time you lose a creature, at least you have like a 1/1 sapperling creature that can be used for chomp blocking or attacking or whatever, or sacrificing even. So it's pretty good. I would say in conjunction with I'll show you the card when I find it. Some of the other enchantments, it makes it so that your deck is much more controlly and that it's more difficult for your opponent to wipe your side or take your options out of your hand. It literally gives you more options because you know that even though your creatures might be valuable, they also have like an afterlife value to them. So even though I don't run my deck very self-sacrificially, this card is a step towards that. Maelstrom Pulse is one of the strongest removal cards in the format, simply for the fact that it with one spell it removes all permanents of the same name, which also means tokens. So if your opponent is running Peacekeepers and he has so many soldiers that you're about to vomit all over yourself with a mixture of blood and your guts, it's a card that will even out the whole situation. It also does something else than just kill creatures. It kills other or destroys other kinds of non-land permanents, which is great because there are so many permanents that will screw you over, like artifacts and enchantments and so on. And if let's say Dream Puppets is beating your face or beating your library and whipping those cards directly into the graveyard with Howling Mines and what's it called? The other card that's insane and make you draw 2 extra card a turn, then this card will take out all of those Howling Mines or yeah, whatever. You get the point. It's a great card. I run both of them, and you'll see that my deck is very removal heavy. I run the Mind Rods because it has some synergy with the Vulture Zombies and with some of the other cards as well. It's very good. I really like it because it takes options out of your opponent's hands when he thought that he had options, and it also I'm a huge fan of discard decks. I love the Liliara deck in the 2012 format. When I played Paper Magic, I had a strong, at least in my opinion, a very strong discard control deck. So I think it fits my play style, but I can see why you might not want to run it because it's not entirely synergetic with the theme of the deck. It's synergetic with some cards of the deck, and aside from that, it's just a way of stripping options from your opponent's hand, which is good, definitely good in of itself. But that I think it's pretty much up to your play, you and your play style. What kind of play style do you enjoy playing when if you want to include this card or not? I love this card, both of them. Pernicious Deed, I run both of them. I was kind of and still am a little bit on the fence about whether I want to run 1 or 2, but it's just helped me out so much that I felt the need to run both of them because it's very flexible. It'll take out every artifact, creature, and enchantment, but with the converted mana cost of whatever you choose it to be, and it works at instant speed. So you can wipe their side, or you can wipe both sides. It's very flexible. You can do so many things with this card. Very good card, and you can get rid of some things that you wouldn't be able to get rid of elsewise. For example, while unlocking, I usually play against the computer while I'm unlocking, play the campaign because I get to see the, in this year's format, they included some encounter challenges where, in between playing the different regular decks, you play against themed decks that are heavily focused on one theme, and one of those have like an enchantment with hexproof on it, and its ability was basically if you get 100 counters on this enchantment, you win the match in your next upkeep, and there's really no way to get rid of that card unless you have a card like Perniscious Deed that will take away whatever whatever enchantment, creature, and artifact is on the table with the converted mana cost of X or less. So yeah, it's a really, really good and flexible card. I think it's absolutely necessary for this deck to run it because it's so strong. It's very, very strong, and it makes it so that you control you control the speed or the pace of your opponent as well. So yeah, run both of them. Troll Ascetic, already talked about it. I run 2 of them. Yavimaya Elder, run 3 of them because I think it's a great ramp. It's a very necessary ramp. Sometimes I get a little tired of seeing him in my hand, but I'm never tired of the lands that he gives me. So sometimes I want a stronger creature, but it's a decent chump blocker and it's very flexible. So I think it's necessary to run at least enough of them to make sure that you draw them early on. Consuming Vapors is an amazingly interesting card. Target player sacrifices a creature, you gain life equal to that creature's toughness. That's one thing. It's a little expensive for that ability. It costs 4, but it does have rebound, which means that next round you have the option of casting it again without using any mana. So you get this card twice for the same price. That's pretty amazing. So it will. Sometimes an opponent will forget about it, and he will forget that he has to sack a creature twice, once each turn, and sometimes it just helps you out that one time, and it's just a good card, basically. Very good card. Creakwood Liege is a really good card. Most of the leashes in this format is very good. I didn't run the one in the Izzet deck because I thought it was too expensive and not really good enough, but this one is pretty good because it gives you in theory it gives you a 1/1 black-green worm creature token, but it will usually be so that as long as you have that leash on the board, you get a 3/3 token instead. So that's pretty good, and it also buffs the rest of your deck. I think that's pretty important because a lot of your creatures are smaller creatures, and a card like Vulturous Zombie will benefit immensely from hitting the board as a 5/5 instead of a 3/3 when this card is down. So yeah, great card. I run both of them. Grave Pact, that was the other enchantment card I talked about. It's really good because it makes it so that your opponent doesn't feel like killing your creatures in the same manner that he would, especially if he values his own creatures. Whenever a creature you control dies, each other player sacrifices a creature. That is pretty strong. It is very controlly, and it makes it so that even your chump blockers becomes a valued asset in a different sense, and a feared asset in the eyes of your opponent. Oracle of Mul Daya, already talked about it. I might take it out. Not entirely sure. I might take it out, but so far I like the ramp effect, which is very necessary in this deck. Sewer Nemesis, I run 2 of them. I might take one out as well at some point, but right now I really like the effect of it. Especially because even if it's small when it hits the table, it doesn't take more than a few turns for it to become like a 4/4, 5/5, 6/6, whatever. Because every time your opponent or even yourself cast a spell, the player puts top card of his library into his or her graveyard. You can choose. I've played against Dream Puppets and chosen myself and self-milled myself, which was no huge problem because very quickly my opponent, quote unquote, gave me a very huge creature to for him to deal with. So it's a very interesting card. If you drop that Rancor on it, it's going to be a pain in the ass for your opponent, or just a sudden and violent death. So I like it. I do want to get some more experience playing, especially online, with this card, because I have my suspicions that it's a card that'll get removed very fast from the table, and it might be a little slow. But there are two things to this creature. It can become very big very fast and become a significant presence on your board. The second thing is that it takes away, every time they cast a spell, your opponent casts a spell, it takes away another one of his cards from his library and throws it into the graveyard, which is it's a passive, slightly controlly effect that might screw them in the end. I like that very much. Asceticism or no, I think it's Asceticism. I'm not sure, but you will forgive me, as English is not my first language, as should be pretty obvious from any single one of my videos. Creatures you control have hexproof. Need I say more? Okay, perhaps I need to say a little bit more. Regenerate target creature. This card makes your side beastly. It's very good. There are so many cards or so many great creatures in this deck that you really don't want to lose, especially not at the will of your opponent. So yeah, this card is basically a way to protect your whole side. It's very good, very very good. Lord of Extinction might be one of the biggest creatures I have, or one of the most expensive creatures or cards that I run. I don't want to run very expensive cards. Just want to run, I think 5-drops are the... Yeah, I cap at 5-drop. At 5-drops. This card is insane if your opponent lets you have it for very long. Power and toughness are equal to the number of cards in all graveyards. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that against some decks or in a match that's very removal heavy, this card, when it hits the table, will be a significant presence, and if it lives very long, it will be absolutely insane. So yeah, Lord of Extinction, I run both of them, mostly because it's not a very expensive card, and I think it's in some ways a better card than Mortivore, simply for the fact that it's not about the creatures. Your opponent can't do or pull too many tricks, pulling out creatures out of his graveyard if he has that, like if he runs Born of Flames or if he runs Obedient Dead or something else, and then take away from your, or from the size of your Mortivore. You can't do the same, or it is not as significant against Lord of Extinction because it's all cards. So yeah, very good card. Spiritmonger, it's great card as well. I think I run both of them. Normally I feel like modern decks have this thing about, or modern cards, the cards that have been released the last 10 years actually, have gotten significantly more and more overpowered, and I think this card might border the overpowered, simply for the fact that in the 90s, if you had a card that was bigger in toughness or power, like, or altogether in toughness and power, then its cost, and you see this is a 5 cost, but it's 6/6. Basically, this should be a 6 cost then, but then it has abilities, so it should be a 7 cost or 8 cost. This is like the logic from the 90s, or it should have like a really bad thing about it, like it deals 1 damage to you, or you have to discard a card every turn, or sacrifice a creature like what's the name of the card? I forget. There's so many examples like the Ifrits and the Genes and the what's that card? There's a 7/7 trample flying trample black card that costs, I think it costs 7 to drop, and every turn you had to sacrifice a creature or it deals 7 damage to you or something to that effect. I forget what it's called, but nowadays you have a card like this. It's a 5-drop. Okay, you have to. It's dual colored, so you have to use both kinds of mana. But that's really no problem because you don't have to use 2 black or 2 green. You have to use 1 of each and then 3 colorless. So basically, it's not that difficult to get at least 1 of each color in this deck. But then you have this ability of whenever it deals damage to a creature, you put a +1/+1 counter on the Spiritmonger. It can regenerate, and the Spiritmonger becomes the color of your choice until end of turn. Some pretty powerful effects. The last one might not seem powerful, but against protection for black, protection from green cards, it's amazing. It's a really good card in that sense. So yeah, basically, my rant was all about. I think cards have become too powerful almost. But I'm not gonna take any kind of high road. I will run them when they're there. So the only way this could become insanely overpowered is to give it trample as well or lifelink or something. But it's a great card, of course. It's beyond great. It's amazing. It's a really really good card. Um, so I run both of them. And the final card that I run all 3 of Vulturous Zombie. It's not always that it's been beneficial to me, but I do think that in the long run I'll be happy that I run all 3 of them because that makes it so that I don't have a problem with sacking one, or it's not going to be a problem for me if my opponent um, removes 1 or 2 of them or something during a match. But it's really, really great whenever a card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere. Put a +1/+1 counter on a Vulture Zombie. It comes down as a 3/3 unless you have the Liege, then it comes down as a 5/5. But very quickly, because your opponent is playing spells, he loses creatures and so on and so forth, this will become a very large flyer, which is tough to deal with unless you have a direct removal. So yeah, this is basically this is how I run the Golgari guild deck, the Sepulchral Strength deck. As you'll see up here, I've by the way enabled my mouse cursor so I can show stuff instead of just telling you where you're supposed to look. It has 9 forests, 11 swamps. It's very, very easy to build it in a way so you have 12 swamps, 8 forests. So this was probably the best that I could do in that sense. Let's see, I have 3 1-drops, 8 2-drops, 14 3-drops, 7 4-drops, and 8 5-drops. That's a little expensive. It ruins the curve, but the 5-drops are just so good. You'll see here, this is the first 5-drop. I think it's pretty necessary if you want to protect yourself against black, red, whatever has direct removal, even peacekeepers or bounce decks and so on. It's very, very important because your creatures are fairly vulnerable. And the regenerate target creature deal makes it so that everybody is an ascetic troll in your deck. So yeah, makes it so that you have to pay the troll toll. But then I'm not gonna use that joke anymore. Sorry, I used it already. But it's a good card, very good card. The Lord of Extinction is amazing. The Spiritmonger is amazing. Vulturous Zombie is amazing. You could take 1 Vulture Zombie out. You could take 1 Spiritmonger out if you feel like it, or even a Lord of Extinction out. Perhaps a Lord of Extinction before you take a Spiritmonger out. But I don't run this Death Mutation. I don't run the Penumbra Worm. I don't run the Pelaka Worm. I don't run the Glean Crawler, and I don't run the Drooling Grudian. or for that matter, the Cabal Patriarch. And I don't run the two Methodic Slimes, so, or the Drana, or the Bellowing Tangleworm. So I try to keep it fairly light, as you see. I have nothing above a 5-drop, and it's very, very, very possible, even if you're having a hard time with mana, that before the match is over, that you'll hit your land drop 5. It is more unlikely that you'll hit your land drop 6 or 7. It's just simple math, of course. It's very easy logic, but I think a 5-drop cap for this deck makes it very much faster, a lot more fast than it could be, and having so many 2 and 3 drops and 4 drops makes it even faster still. So yeah, this has been my build of the Sepulchral Strength. I hope you liked it. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, and if you have something to comment on. This is not a final deck building guide, as you realize from my my thunderous ramblings here, that I'm not done with experiencing the different possibilities of this deck, but but this is kind of me analyzing what I know at this point. So if you have some advice, if you want to tell me that I'm an idiot for running one card over the other, if you want to commend me on using one strategy, whatever you want to, please leave a comment. I enjoy it very much. I enjoy interacting with you guys a lot. So yeah, thanks for watching. I am multeyemeteor. This have been Sepulchral Strength, and I'll see you in some deck testing. Bye bye.